The top 10 most polluted countries in the world, where women are forced to relieve themselves in public. India ranks only second. The top spot is 100 times more nauseating than a cesspool. When we speak of the world's beauty and prosperity, few are aware that in certain corners of this blue planet, streets are no longer synonymous with bustle and cleanliness. Rivers are no longer the source of life, but rather a multicolored source of contamination. In today's video, we examine the 10 most heavily polluted countries globally. Nepal. This beautiful nation, nestled within the Himalayas, with its unique culture and magnificent natural landscapes, attracts countless tourists. Yet, as you walk the streets of Kathmandu, the first thing you see is not a grand temple or a vibrant marketplace, but filthy streets and trash everywhere. Kathmandu is the capital and largest city of Nepal, and it is also one of the most severely polluted areas. According to World Health Organization data, the air quality index in Kathmandu remains consistently above 150 year-round. This means the air is saturated with harmful suspended particulate matter. In 2017, Kathmandu was once ranked as one of the cities with the worst air quality on Earth. PM 2.5 concentrations exceeded 200 micrograms per cubic meter, while the safety standard recommended by the WHO is only 25 micrograms per cubic meter. In other words, the air pollution levels in Kathmandu are nearly 8 times the safety limit. However, air pollution is only part of the problem. The Bagmati River, flowing through the Kathmandu Valley, is a major disaster zone. The Bagmati is regarded as a holy river. Its banks are home to many significant religious sites, such as the Pashupatinath Temple. Yet, this river is now smothered by plastic bags, food packaging, and other domestic waste. In 2018, environmental groups conducting river cleanups retrieved over 300 tons of garbage, including massive amounts of plastic and e-waste. What is truly shocking is that due to a lack of wastewater treatment facilities, most domestic sewage is discharged directly into the river untreated. This causes the water to emit a foul stench, not only causing immense environmental damage, but turning this once sacred waterway into a stinking open sewer. Leaving Kathmandu and heading to the famous tourist destination of Pokhara, you might expect the environment to be better here. After all, Pokhara is renowned for its fresh air and the magnificent Fiwa Lake. However, our reality is harsh. Due to urbanization around the lake and agricultural activities, large amounts of fertilizers, pesticides, and domestic wastewater flow into the lake, leading to eutrophication. Water quality has plummeted. In 2019, an environmental monitoring report revealed that Fiwa Lake contains massive amounts of algae and organic pollutants. The water has turned from crystal clear to unbearably murky. Local fishermen and residents report that fish populations in the lake have sharply declined. Some species are even on the brink of extinction. Though the once glorious Mesopotamian civilization was nurtured here, modern-day Iraq has fallen into a terrifying quagmire. In Iraq, waste management systems are virtually non-existent. The capital, Baghdad, as the heart of the nation. It should have been a thriving metropolis, but instead, it has become a city of trash. According to statistics, Baghdad generates up to 5,000 tons of waste every single day. Due to a lack of effective waste treatment facilities and management systems, most of this refuse ends up discarded in streets and alleys, dumped into rivers and lakes, or indiscriminately burned. This pervasive waste not only destroys the cityscape, but also serves as a breeding ground for disease. Infectious diseases like cholera and typhoid break out frequently here. The rivers of Iraq, particularly the Tigris River and the Euphrates River, were once the cradle of Mesopotamian civilization. Now, they are burdened with industrial wastewater, untreated domestic sewage, and a heavy load of solid waste. It is estimated that most of Iraq's sewage is discharged directly into its rivers, leading to a severe deterioration in water quality. The Tigris River contains high levels of heavy metals, chemical pollutants, and pathogens, making the safety of drinking water one of the greatest challenges facing the Iraqi people. Many rely on polluted river water for their daily needs, resulting in widespread epidemics of waterborne diseases. According to World Health Organization reports, PM 2.5 concentrations in Iraq far exceed safety standards. Long-term exposure to such an environment leads to respiratory diseases and a high incidence of cardiovascular ailments in oil hubs like Basra. The air is thick with the pungent smell of petroleum, People have no choice but to breathe this air, suffering through the ordeal day after day. Even more terrifying is the post-war legacy: vast tracts of land contaminated by abandoned military equipment and unexploded ordnance. These pose a monumental threat to the environment and the health of residents. Furthermore, the extensive use of petrochemicals during the war, such as burning oil wells and military vehicle emissions, has exacerbated air and soil pollution. Faced with such dire issues, the Iraqi government seems powerless. Prolonged war and conflict have decimated the infrastructure, leaving the national economy in shambles. Corruption only adds insult to injury, as vast sums intended for environmental protection are embezzled, causing green projects to stall indefinitely. At the same time, a lack of education and awareness has left the public indifferent to environmental concerns. Littering and the casual discharge of sewage have become commonplace sights, creating a vicious cycle. When we describe something as being as easy as pie, we might compare it to the simple act of breathing. However, in Pakistan, sometimes breathing can actually cost you your life. According to a 2020 survey, Pakistan generates a daily volume of solid waste reaching 48,000 tons. Approximately 40% of this remains untreated, dumped directly onto city streets, into rivers, and across vacant lots. This waste does more than just pollute the environment. It becomes a breeding ground for disease. Karachi, a city home to over 20 million people, is notorious for its garbage problem. Here, mountains of trash have even become local landmarks, and residents have long grown accustomed to the sight. Karachi's issues are not limited to piles of trash. There is also the infamous Liari River. This river was once the lifeline of Karachi, but now it has turned into a foul-smelling black river. Every day, thousands of tons of unfiltered industrial waste and raw sewage are pumped directly into its waters. The river water has turned pitch black and oily, emitting a pungent, stinging odor. Local residents joke grimly that just standing by the riverbank is enough to knock you out. It is so nauseating that you won't be able to eat for days. Of course, the pollution in Pakistan is not limited to the cities. Rural areas are equally plagued by environmental degradation. In the rural villages of Punjab, due to the lack of effective waste management systems, residents often resort to burning trash directly or simply discarding it in open fields. Over time, this waste gradually transforms into mountains of garbage. Hazardous substances within these piles, especially plastics, leach into the soil, contaminating groundwater sources and severely impacting the health of the inhabitants. What is even worse is Pakistan's air pollution problem, which is also extremely critical. Data from the World Health Organization shows that Pakistan's air pollution levels rank among the highest in the world. In the winter of 2019, as Pakistan's second-largest city, Lahore's air quality index once soared above 500. This is the extreme limit of the hazardous category, meaning that in such air, breathing is equivalent to inhaling toxic gas. Every winter, residents must face skies shrouded in thick smog. Masks are mandatory whenever they step outside, and some are even forced into hospitalization due to respiratory failures. According to WHO investigations, Sudan's groundwater resources account for only 0.04% of Africa's total, yet they must support 3% of the continent's population. However, the desperate reality is that these precious groundwater resources have suffered severe contamination. It all stems from Sudan's extreme climatic conditions. The northern regions suffer from year-round drought, with average annual rainfall of less than 100 millimeters, while the south is frequently hit by floods during the rainy season. More terrifyingly, 83% of Sudan's land has already undergone desertification. According to World Health Organization data, over 60% of the population in Sudan lacks access to safe drinking water, particularly in remote rural areas. People are forced to rely on contaminated water sources. These sources are teeming with bacteria, parasites, and chemical pollutants, leading to high incidences of diarrhea, cholera, and other waterborne diseases. It is estimated that approximately 12,000 children die each year due to severe diarrhea. Tragically, these cases could have been avoided by improving water sources and sanitation facilities. Furthermore, due to fuel shortages, many Sudanese families have no choice but to use charcoal and wood for cooking. This not only causes indoor air pollution, but also exacerbates deforestation. In Khartoum and other cities, the air is filled with dense haze, especially during the winter. Visibility can sometimes drop to within a few hundred meters. This level of air quality not only impacts the respiratory system with severe consequences, but also leads to a significant rise in the rates of heart and lung diseases. Sudan's public health infrastructure is woefully inadequate. In rural areas specifically, hospitals and clinics are not only few and far between, but their conditions are also primitive. Many medical facilities lack basic equipment and medicine, and healthcare personnel are in extremely short supply. In many locations, people often have to trek dozens of kilometers just to reach the nearest medical facility. In an emergency, this distance can be a death sentence. Furthermore, sanitation education in Sudan is alarmingly poor. Many lack basic hygiene knowledge, unsure of how to prevent disease or properly manage waste. This situation further exacerbates Sudan's public health crisis, making the spread of disease nearly impossible to contain. One of the root causes of Sudan's health issues is the nation's dire economic hardship. Sudan was once one of Africa's most prosperous nations, but decades of civil war, sanctions, and mismanagement have plunged the economy into a freefall. The government lacks the funds to invest in infrastructure and essential public services. Many sanitation projects have been forced onto the back burner due to a lack of capital. Additionally, political instability and systemic corruption in Sudan prevent international aid from effectively reaching the areas that need it most, further worsening the sanitary conditions. The Congo Basin is the world's second-largest tropical rainforest, yet those once lush, thriving forests have now become desolate wastelands. But this is just one small part of the environmental curse afflicting the land of Congo. Located in Congo, Kinshasa is one of Africa's largest megacities, boasting a population of over 15 million. However, despite its massive population, waste management is in a state of total shambles. On the streets, one can constantly see garbage piled up everywhere, emitting an unbearable stench. This city generates an immense amount of waste daily, reaching up to 9,000 tons, yet only about 10% is effectively processed. The rest of the trash is left to rot on street corners, or dumped directly into nearby rivers, becoming a breeding ground for mosquitoes and flies. If you think the urban waste problem is already concerning enough, pollution in the mining districts is even more harrowing. Congo is renowned for its vast mineral resources, with its cobalt and copper reserves among the highest in the world. However, the extraction of these minerals has brought about severe environmental devastation. The mining areas in Lualaba province are a textbook example. The rivers here are heavily contaminated by chemical waste from the ore refining process. Toxic substances like lead and arsenic in the water supply have exceeded WHO safety standards by dozens of times. Local residents rely on these rivers for survival, as their drinking and irrigation water comes directly from these poisoned streams. Over the long term, their health has been gravely compromised. Many suffer from skin diseases, malaria, and other serious health complications. The pollution from mining is not limited to water sources. Soil contamination is equally severe. Due to rampant illegal mining activities, the soil in mining districts has accumulated massive amounts of toxic heavy metals. These pollutants not only destroy land fertility, making agricultural production increasingly difficult, but they also enter the human body through the food chain. Studies indicate that, in villages near the mining sites, the levels of cobalt in children are on average more than 4 times the safe limit, severely impacting their development and long-term health. Furthermore, due to lax regulations, Congo has become a dumping ground for electronic waste from many developed nations. This e-waste contains high concentrations of toxic substances, such as lead, mercury, and cadmium, during the dismantling and recycling process. These toxins inevitably leak into the environment, further poisoning the soil and water. Several villages near the capital, Kinshasa, have effectively become e-waste villages. Local residents frequently work in these areas without any protective measures whatsoever, processing these discarded electronic products to extract valuable metals. Long-term exposure to these toxic substances has left their health in a precarious state. Haiti. Located on the western half of Hispaniola, the Caribbean's second-largest island, it boasts enchanting natural scenery and a profound historical heritage. However, many once beautiful beaches have now turned into landfills. The crystal-clear waters that used to lure tourists are now mired in deep-seated pollution. It may be hard to believe, but in the capital, Port-au-Prince, waste management is virtually non-existent. Most residential areas lack basic toilet facilities. This city generates about 2,000 tons of waste daily, and public defecation is a rampant issue. Only about 35% of the trash is properly treated. The rest simply piles up in every corner of the city, forming nauseating mountains of garbage. Haiti's rivers, lakes, and coastlines are almost entirely choked by plastic bags, debris, and rotting organic matter. Because the trash clogs the drainage systems, whenever heavy rains hit, the streets of Port-au-Prince turn into sewage-filled swamps, a foul mixture of garbage and wastewater, emitting a horrific stench. In some neighborhoods, residents must wear boots just to wade through the filth outside their front doors. For most of us, such a scene is simply beyond imagination. If you thought the urban sewage problem was bad enough, the reality is actually far worse. Haiti's drinking water safety is equally critical. Due to the lack of effective sewage systems, water sources that urban residents rely on are heavily polluted, often mingling with household waste and industrial runoff. Investigations show that nearly half of Haiti's population lacks access to safe drinking water. This has led to frequent outbreaks of cholera and other waterborne diseases. In 2010, a cholera epidemic swept through Haiti, infecting over 800,000 people and claiming more than 10,000 lives, marking a massive tragedy in global health history. Furthermore, according to World Health Organization statistics, roughly 8,000 people in Haiti die each year from air pollution-related illnesses. This figure is truly shocking. Such a dire environment did not form overnight. It is the result of long-term socio-economic issues. Haiti is the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, with about 60% of its population living below the poverty line. Government resources are spread thin, making effective waste management and environmental protection nearly impossible. Moreover, frequent natural disasters, such as earthquakes and hurricanes, have exacerbated Haiti's environmental crisis. The 2010 earthquake destroyed much of Port-au-Prince's infrastructure, causing already dismal sanitary conditions to deteriorate even further. Afghanistan. This landlocked Central Asian nation was once a bustling hub on the ancient Silk Road, but today it is a landscape of scars and utter devastation. According to data from the State of Global Air Report, air pollution levels in the Afghan capital, Kabul, consistently rank among the worst in the world, especially during winter. The burning of wood, coal, and even trash for heating creates a toxic smog that chokes the entire city. The concentration of PM 2.5 particles in the air can reach 300 micrograms per cubic meter during winter. This does not just make breathing a struggle, it drastically spikes the incidence of heart and lung diseases. According to statistics, air pollution in Afghanistan leads to over 20,000 premature deaths every year. Beyond the tainted air, Kabul's waste crisis is equally soul-crushing. Due to years of relentless conflict, the government's waste management system is virtually paralyzed. Garbage piles up like mountains across the city, on street corners, riverbanks, and even next to homes. Mounds of household waste are a constant eyesore. Packs of stray dogs roam freely, scavenging for food among the debris, while rats have become the unofficial local residents. With no proper disposal sites, burning trash has become the go-to solution for many locals. However, this only fuels the toxic gas problem in the atmosphere. It is worth noting that the Kabul River, once a vital freshwater lifeline for Afghanistan, has now mutated into a flowing landfill. Lacking any sewage treatment facilities, industrial and domestic waste are dumped directly into the river. The water has turned an unnatural, murky, brownish black. Many residents living along the banks have no choice but to use this heavily contaminated water source, causing frequent outbreaks of waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery. The situation is reaching a breaking point. Data reveals that roughly 40% of all illnesses in Afghanistan are linked to drinking contaminated water. If you venture into rural Afghanistan, the scenes of filth and neglect are even more pervasive because of a total lack of infrastructure. Many villages have no formal waste collection systems. Residents are forced to discard trash wherever they can, tossing it into rivers or deep into mountain valleys. Furthermore, water scarcity has made sanitary conditions in rural areas utterly abysmal. With extremely limited water access, bathing and cleaning are luxuries people are forced to cut back on, exacerbating a dire health crisis. The rates of parasitic and skin diseases among children in rural Afghanistan soar far above the global average. The living environment is, without a doubt, the prime suspect. Imagine for a moment Under the scorching African sun, the air is thick with the stench of rot and decay. This is a common sight across Nigeria. Lagos, a megacity of over 21 million people, is Nigeria's primary port and its largest urban hub. Every single day, it churns out 10,000 tons of waste, equivalent to a small mountain. The shocking reality is that only 40% of this waste is properly managed. The remaining 60% is mostly dumped on the streets, in rivers, or at illegal dumping grounds. For instance, the notorious Olusosun landfill is one of the largest unauthorized dump sites in Lagos, spanning over 100 hectares. The trash has been accumulating for decades, reaching the heights of a skyscraper. It is not just a breeding ground for flies and rats. It constantly belches out toxic fumes, posing a massive threat to the health of nearby residents. But it does not stop at solid waste. Water pollution in Nigeria is just as severe. Data indicates that over 55% of city dwellers in Nigeria and about 80% of rural residents lack access to safe drinking water. The situation is especially grim in the Niger Delta. This region once boasted crystal-clear rivers and lush green mangroves, but due to oil spills and industrial effluent discharge, today's Niger Delta is unrecognizable. It has transformed into a wasteland of flowing black toxins. As one of the world's leading oil producers, every year, Nigeria experiences approximately 300 oil spill incidents. This is equivalent to an environmental catastrophe occurring every single day. For instance, the Bonga oil spill in 2011 resulted in over 40 million liters of crude oil pouring into the rivers and mangroves of the Niger Delta, completely obliterating the local ecosystem. The oil pollution does not just coat the water's surface, it seeps deep into the soil, leaving local farmers with barren fields and zero harvest. Fishermen have seen their catches plummet by more than 90%. Furthermore, air pollution is equally alarming. According to data from the World Health Organization, air quality in several Nigerian cities persistently remains at hazardous levels. Lagos, in particular, suffers from a combination of vehicle exhaust, industrial emissions, and the burning of waste, leaving the city's atmosphere saturated with particulate matter and toxic gases. It is estimated that air pollution in Nigeria causes tens of thousands of premature deaths annually, primarily due to respiratory diseases. In Delhi, India, a mountain of garbage has reached a height of 65 meters, comparable to a 20-story skyscraper. It is often described as a man-made mountain range of trash, and this is just the tip of the iceberg in India. The Ganges River is revered by Hindus as a sacred waterway. Yet in reality, it is one of the world's most heavily polluted rivers. Cities and villages along the Ganges discharge approximately 2 billion liters of untreated sewage every year, along with massive amounts of industrial waste and trash, especially in northern India. Sewage treatment facilities in many cities are not fully operational. This allows vast quantities of domestic sewage and industrial effluent to be dumped directly into the river, resulting in catastrophic pollution. The consequence is that, despite the Ganges being seen as a place of sacred purification, many people still bathe in and drink this severely contaminated water. The health risks are self-evident. In rural India, the situation is equally grim. Although the government launched the Clean India campaign and constructed millions of public toilets, a report by UNICEF states that approximately 15% of the Indian population, roughly 200 million people, still lack access to toilets. This forces them to relieve themselves in the open. In certain regions, such as Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, open defecation has become a widespread phenomenon. This makes the local government's efforts to combat public health crises even more difficult. Even more severe is India's air pollution crisis. According to the 2023 World Air Quality Report, India is home to some of the world's most polluted cities. In northern Indian cities like Delhi, Ghaziabad, and Noida, PM2.5 concentrations often exceed WHO recommended standards by dozens of times. Take Delhi, for example. During winter, the air is thick with a pungent smog. Visibility is extremely low, and spending just a few minutes outdoors can lead to difficulty breathing. The deteriorating air quality directly leads to a surge in respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. According to a report by the Indian Council of Medical Research, air pollution in India causes over 1.2 million deaths from related illnesses every year. Although India has invested heavily in infrastructure and sanitation projects in recent years, and the situation has seen some improvement. Fully resolving these deep-rooted issues remains an uphill battle. Bangladesh, often hailed as the land of wetlands, yet its rivers have become literal open sewers. The Buriganga River, once revered as the river of life, is now a black river of death. How did it come to this? It is perhaps hard to imagine, but every single day, thousands of tons of untreated industrial wastewater, domestic sewage, and solid waste are dumped directly into the Buriganga. Data reveals that dissolved oxygen levels in the Buriganga have plummeted to near zero. This means aquatic life essentially cannot survive here. You might see plastic bags floating on the surface, alongside debris and all sorts of trash. The water itself is a nauseating black, emitting a foul stench, resembling a toxic trench. Bathing or drinking from this river, scenes that are hard to believe, are the daily reality for many impoverished residents as the capital of Bangladesh. Dhaka is the nation's economic and political heart. The city generates about 5,000 tons of waste daily, yet less than half is formally processed. The remaining refuse is either abandoned in makeshift dumps or directly incinerated. These mountains of trash reek of decay, becoming breeding grounds for mosquitoes and flies, posing a severe threat to urban public health. Here, the PM 2.5 concentration in the air reaches as high as 97 micrograms per cubic meter, making it one of the most polluted cities on Earth. No matter which corner of Dhaka you visit, dust and pollutants suspended in the air are everywhere. When discussing the filthiest spots in Bangladesh, perhaps the most shocking is the Kamrangirchar community in Dhaka, located along the banks of the Buriganga. It is known as one of the city's most squalid areas. The streets are narrow and congested. Trash is everywhere, and sewage flows freely. Most residents in this community are the urban poor, living in dilapidated housing with abysmal sanitary conditions. Children here play amidst piles of garbage, while adults wash clothes and dishes in contaminated water. The entire community seems to have been left behind by the march of modernization, serving as a microcosm of Bangladesh's pollution crisis. In recent years, the government and environmental groups have been pushing for environmental and sanitary reforms, such as promoting waste sorting, building public toilets, and improving sewage treatment facilities. However, for Bangladesh to truly lift this shroud of pollution, it will require more resources and a collective effort from all sectors of society. Perhaps, one day in the future, Bangladesh can step out from the shadow of filth and reclaim its original inherent beauty. Alright, that concludes today's video. Of the 10 most polluted countries we have introduced today, which one left the strongest impression on you? Feel free to let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.